Hello, everyone. So we are back with another episode of Life in Law. And today we have a guest who we have had on our show twice before, and her name is Elle. And for those of you that don't know, she's a mother who is from California, and she was the #1 episode of the whole entire year on Life in Law. And she was featured in our episode last year of 9 Months Without Bail. So thank you so much for joining us again, Elle.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
It's my pleasure. And so I know that you've spoken a lot in the last times that you were on the show about your experience. We interviewed you while you were in Las Colinas the first time, and then you gave a brief update earlier in the summer about how you were doing since being released from prison. And now here we are, maybe like 6 months later. So do you want to give a little update and share with everyone kind of where you're at now?
Yeah, so I'll give a brief background for anyone who hasn't heard my story yet before, but I have 5 children, and my youngest daughter started coming back from visitation with her father with a severe vaginal irritation. It was unexplained. He never had any reason for why it was happening, and it continued to happen every time she would go alone to see him. And so that is really how this experience all started. And what I did is basically I stood up to the court system and I stood up to the United States Navy and asked them to intervene and or stop this from happening. And instead of doing that, they in turn turned around and retaliated against me, had me false imprisoned with a $2 million bail at first, and then took it away. And I went 9 months with no bail, being starved, tortured, for allegedly kidnapping my children after they were dropped off at my house for my actual custody time with them. So I had to fight that charge for those 9 months with no bail while being tortured in maximum security. I ended up after those 9 months, they came to me and begged me to take some sort of plea deal that would suffice them enough so that they would let me out. They did do that. I signed it under duress. I made it clear that it was not of my own free will act, indeed, that I only was doing that because I was being starved and tortured, and that I had not committed any crime, and I knew that. After that happened, they then kept delaying, trying to get continuances, forced an ankle monitor on me. When the ankle monitor fell off on its own, I knew that they did not have any enforceable contract with me. And so I basically stood my ground and said, this has gone on for too long, too far. At this point, this is harassment. This is defamation. This is basically like criminal intimidation that they were doing towards me for merely trying to protect my daughter from actual physical harm that she was experiencing. And so what they ended up doing was retaliating again. They re-imprisoned me. They gave me the midterm sentence for a first-time offender. That's like rarely ever happened, especially somebody with no record like I have, who absolutely was only acting in defense of my daughter. I was then released in June 16th of this last year. And during that time, though, my current alleged husband took my 2 youngest sons. He moved them to another state without my consent. He sold our house. He took all of the money, about $300,000 payout that he took. All of it, all of the money, took all of my stuff, took all of our belongings. And it has now been 9 months. We're in December, or I guess it's been 6 full months since I was released. And I've had no contact with my sons. He has not spoken to me. He has sent me 5 pictures over these 6 months. And I went to Georgia to try to locate my sons. I could not find them. I was poisoned there. I was treated horribly. I had police officers surround me. It was just a horrific experience, just going to try to locate my 2- and 3-year-old son, who I haven't now seen for 6 months. Actually, 9 months.
Wow. Okay, so that's a lot, and thank you for sharing all of that. And so I think a lot of people didn't realize what you were saying about now how you're separated from the 2 younger sons, and how your ex-husband or estranged husband has done this to you. And so when was the last time you had contact with him?
He spoke to me. He called me on the day that I was released, and he basically tried to coerce me into going into some sort of 1 month long mental treatment of some sort, begged me to do that, and then said I could have everything back and see my sons again if I would just do that. I have not heard from him since that day. He has had an alleged attorney send me a couple harassing emails. He has filed some ridiculous paperwork in the Georgia courts, but he has not spoken to me directly. When I went to try to locate my sons, I did know where he was. I tried to go and locate him. He looked terrified, scared, slammed the door in my face. I have no idea what has actually happened to him, why he's behaving this way. He has not communicated.
And so what type of paperwork has he attempted to file? Did he try to file divorce or custody papers?
As far as I know, he has first tried to file some sort of custody, emergency custody, something, but I do not believe he has any valid order. I've never been officially served anything since just his alleged filing for emergency custody.
And what do you think made him change like this? Because I remember a couple times I myself spoke to him when you were in jail, and he seemed to be somewhat supportive. Do you think that maybe something happened to make him like turn on you this way?
I cannot speak for him. I've had a private investigator look into a lot of things. All I can see that for sure happened is he took somehow a $300,000 payout for what appears to be some sort of sale of a house that we owned, and then went silent. So to me, I can let anyone else make their own conclusion with that, but it seems quite suspicious.
And are there any updates about what's going on with the older children?
No updates with the older children, other than I went to the court. I spent a lot of time with the clerk of court, did everything the way they wanted me to do it. And so I filed a petition for emergency custody to see my older children again. Went through the exact steps that they had me do, talked to the supervising clerk, spent so much time doing it correctly with him. Then I went to enforce the paperwork that I got from him, and I was rearrested and put in jail again for about 4 hours over that. And I'm still being harassed for that one incident. So at this point, all that I have experienced thus far is these sheriffs, the Navy harassing me or arresting me anytime I try to basically just see my sons and daughters who love me very much, who have been without their mother, and who I was the only one ever advocating for their needs and protecting them from physical harm.
And so can you go into a little bit more detail about what type of involvement the Navy and the military had in the situation?
So the Navy presence has been very unique in my situation. When my daughter was being harmed, it was on the property of the United States Navy that this was happening. So this was something that they should have taken very seriously. And this was by a Navy officer. And instead they had an admiral, a 2-star rear admiral, retired, come to every single one of my court dates, intimidate the judicial officers, and make sure that I never had any type of fair situation take place.
And so your ex, he is still active duty in the military?
I actually do not know anything about him. I ever since the end of our relationship, when he sexually assaulted me, I have not paid attention to anything. I've hoped him the best in his life, co-parented with him, but I have no idea about anything with his career or what he's been up to.
And have you made any attempts to try to, because to my knowledge, your parental rights have never been terminated, correct?
I have full rights. I have full rights to all 5 of my children. There's never even been a valid order in any of these cases. There's never even been a judicial officer willing to put their name on some sort of order that actually would be valid, because they know what they are doing is wrong. And so, yes, I have full rights to all of my children. And this is, at this point, just absurd behavior.
And have you made any attempts to contact the schools or the doctors if you know where they're being seen, and have they given you information and records, because you do have the right to have those?
Yeah, so I reached out to the schools to let them know how hard I was fighting to just have some sort of contact again with my children. The principal of my younger two school was very responsive, actually. I know that their school would like for me to be back with my children, right? Like, they know how important I was in their life, how pivotal my role was, and how well they thrived under my care. Everyone knows that. Every mediator I've been to with my ex-husband has always felt strongly that I needed primary custody of my children. So there is not a single professional, a school, no one who thinks that those children should not be with me.
And so have you been able to access like report cards and records, and are you being given that, or are they denying you those records?
I'm not being given it, but I still have access to them, because when I have spoken to the doctors before and let them know, they refuse to take part in this. There are some actually good people that have refused to take part in this ridiculous enactment that is taking place.
Yeah, because something I see a lot of times is a lot of these guys will go to the providers, they'll go to the school, to the doctors, and they'll say, oh, so-and-so has no rights. Don't give them any information. And then even though you do, the doctors will just take this person's word for it and deny report cards, deny parent conferences and stuff. And I know I went through similar stuff with my daughter, where my ex was taking an order that was from the family court and showing it to the police, showing it to doctors, showing it to providers, and telling them that this document says my parental rights were terminated. And so you show a bunch of police officers, a bunch of people, a 10-page document with footnotes and all this legal language that they don't understand, and you tell them it's a TPR, they're going to just believe you. They're not going to read it and analyze it and know the difference. And a lot of times they're not being educated on this, and they don't want to get involved, and they call it a civil matter or send you on your way. So I think it's a big issue when not only, are people getting these fraudulent orders, but then they're purporting the orders to be something that they're not, and trying to deceive the providers to try to really erase you from the children's lives, which is completely absurd. Because it's like, how can you, these children were conceived at one point through love in a marriage where people were, happy to have the children and accepting the fact that they need a mother. And I think that everyone can agree that the mother's role is fundamental in a child's life, especially at a young age.
Well, he's definitely attempted to do that. He used to carry around a briefcase and show anyone and everyone he could any negative thing, any negative remark he could ever find about me. He carried it around to everyone, trying to get them to believe this. But luckily, he is so distasteful in himself that no one is really willing to keep going along with what he has done, because my presence is so strong still with my children that they do not really believe this incredibly distasteful and malice-filled man who is just going around with malicious intent to shame a woman who just loves her children. So it's been very well for me to see that these professionals, these teachers, these doctors are not willing ethically to go along with his ridiculous and malicious acts that he's doing.
And your younger two, are they in school or not old enough yet?
Allegedly, since my current alleged estranged whatever he is husband has not communicated anything about the whereabouts of my sons, I do not actually know where they are. I have seen 5 photos of them. I do not know if they are safe. I do not know if they are healthy. I do not know who is caring for them. He has no right to have done this. Like, that is the worst situation at all. At least I know with the older children that I had raised them, my youngest up to age 6, and then 10 and 9. So I know that they have the basic skills to survive. They're very wonderful children. They're smart. They're athletic. They know how to do, their hygienic care. My younger 2 sons, it's way more concerning because I have no idea where they are or who is watching them.
And your youngest was less than a year old when you went to jail, correct?
He was 8 months old.
And at the time, were you nursing?
Yeah, so I was breastfeeding. I was so bonded to him. That was probably one of the most horrific and painful experiences that those little boys did not deserve. They did not deserve to be thrown into this or have their mother robbed from them because a man in the Navy did not want it to get out that they were allowing sexual abuse of a little girl. So not only did they allow that sexual abuse of a little girl, but they also then robbed two little boys their mother at the most prime and important time for them to have her.
It's absolutely terrible. And it's like, all you can think about is like, what are your sons thinking? They're just probably so confused and scared and just, and it's who knows what they're being told. And my question is, how is it not considered custodial interference, what he's doing? Isn't it custodial interference?
Allegedly by the law and the exact terms and conditions of the laws in Georgia, what he is doing is a criminal offense, and it is custodial interference, and it is actually technically at this point parental kidnapping, because I have no idea where they are. He has not communicated, and he is not sending me any updates, and he does not have any lawful legal any order that gives him the right to withhold those boys from me. So he is actively committing a crime every day. And when I had the police go, instead of doing something, they came out and told, I had a third party go to retrieve my rings and some of my belongings. They came out, the police officer told him, stay out of this. This is too dangerous for you. He didn't try to help. He didn't try to make sure that my sons were okay or that they saw their mother. He tried to intimidate my third party and tell him it was too dangerous for him to get involved in making sure that I retrieved my own personal belongings and that I got to see my sons.
And so what about, because didn't he remove the children from California, which was their residence? So wouldn't California be able to prosecute for custodial interference, like similar to what they did to you, kind of?
They should, because that is an actual crime that is being committed that they know about. But what I have gotten to discern from looking at the paperwork is the payment that came through to him of about $300,000 was from California sources. So it seems, and I'm not, it appears, how about that? It appears that the payout that was given to him was from California sources with the intent to make sure that something like this happened.
And so you guys owned a home together, and then you got out of jail and your home was sold, and he basically signed your name without your knowledge and stole your equity in the home.
So basically, we had a partnership, and we had an arrangement with each other on how this house should be split if we ever sold it. And we also had a partnership because we entered into this home as a long-term investment, and we both paid a lot of money into it. I paid over $300,000 in the span of like 2 years of my hard work with my big pregnant belly, running a cleaning business, cleaning 3 houses a day, everything that I could do into this investment. So we had very specific arrangements between each other. He totally manipulated the entire situation, took a payout, and acted as if I had never had any part of this home at all. Completely fraudulent paperwork. I've tracked all of the paperwork. It's a mess. It doesn't even look clean. As a notary, I think you would know, it has to be notarized on the day that you sign it. The dates don't line up. The notary notarized it on a day that he didn't sign it. None of it makes any sense.
And so, I mean, these are some pretty serious crimes like mortgage fraud or, these type of wire fraud, if there's wires of money and stuff like that. So are there currently investigations, or is anybody willing to do anything, or are they just ignoring your reports?
I would say on the state level and the feds level of this country, they are not taking it seriously, but I did take it international because of how serious this is. And this is truly a crime against women and children. And so on the international stage, people are taking this very, very, very seriously. Now, the state of California, the local authorities, and the feds, they seem to just be pursuing, intimidating, and harassing me. But internationally, I know that things will go the right way. I know that all of the players involved of this will face the natural consequences for every single thing that they have done, and that time will come. But as for right now, the local authorities, they just want to harass me, arrest me, defame me, whatever they can do, intimidate and scare me at this point for as long as they can get away with it.
Which it's just insane if you think about it, because I just feel like if the tables were turned and you did that to him, they'd be searching for you at every corner. But because he did it, it's like they just want to just say, okay, well, go away, you know, stop trying to report it, stop trying to get justice. And it's like they just want you to just leave them alone and stop pursuing. But it's like, who is going to just give up on their kids, everything they worked for, like everything they owned? Like they just want you to just forget it and walk away. Like, who's going to do that?
Well, that's why I'm just tracking it and keeping it international, because I already know how they behave. They're very incompetent and they just have no actual authority in general. So why would I even waste my time dealing with incompetent people who don't actually have the authority to even be doing what they're doing right now? So I'm just keeping it with divine law, ecclesiastical law. I've gone through the Vatican. I'm going to just take it as high as I can take it to the ones who actually are competent to handle this matter. And it might take longer, but the consequences are going to be way greater, because everybody who's been involved in this knows exactly what they're doing. They know who they're doing it to. They have seen and they know for sure that my daughter was physically harmed. They have seen it with their own eyes. They have witnessed it, and they stood by and let it happen because they were so scared about their own selves, their own jobs, whatever it was. It's no excuse.
And so why do you think that he chose to go to Georgia? Does he have family out there, or maybe job related? Do you have any idea why?
Allegedly for less traffic and a better cost of living. That is why he had expressed that he wanted to go there as a family with all 5 children so that we could restart and be together. He did not express that he just wanted to take the boys, hide them there, and make sure I never saw them again. Except for the times when he started threatening me and writing that he would do that if I did not listen to him.
And he's not really even watching the kids. Like, the children are being watched by an au pair or a nanny or somebody else all day while he works, right?
They would have to be because he works about 60 to 70-hour weeks. So there would be no way for him to be watching them and working that much.
Which makes no sense. It's like you take the kids away from a loving mother to go put them with a stranger and pay the stranger a salary to watch your children when your children's mother is begging for them.
Well, he is really not a malicious or cruel man at all. He witnessed a lot of what happened to the older children, was horrified by it, and really, really tried to help them. So this is why I know there is some sort of foul play, because I have tracked it. And I think when somebody is intimidated, harassed, or scared by players like the state of California or the authorities, they act erratic and they do things they wouldn't normally do. So I can give him a lot of grace because I know that this is not his normal behavior. He would always want these boys to be with me. My son, who's only 3, he lights up when he sees me enter a room. And my alleged husband, he would never deprive him of that on his own if he was not being coerced, forced, or intimidated to do it.
And so who do you think is sort of intimidating him? Do you think it has to do with his job or maybe his family?
It might have to do with his job, since he's a federal employee. From the tracking of the money, it seems to be that it is a part of the state of California, the California Cattle Association, very interesting players who seem to be involved in this, some sort of billionaire funding. Very high level elite players seem to be the ones that are influencing, coercing, or intimidating at some level what is happening right now.
Yeah, and it's interesting just looking back at the analytics here for our show. When we did your episode 9 months without bail, your story of survival in Las Colinas, we actually published that on December 22nd, 2024. So it was almost exactly a year ago. And wow. Your episode received the highest streams and listens out of by far over any episode since this podcast started. And yours received 717 streams and downloads compared to the average on most of the other ones is less than 20. So
this is a very, very well-known situation happening right now. There are a lot of members of Hollywood. There are a lot of members of the elites, the billionaires, the high-level corporations who have a lot of knowledge about what is taking place towards not only me, but to my children. And the fact that they have not intervened or done the right thing is very concerning to me, because they have a lot of awareness of what is going on.
Yeah, and I think it does make a difference when you have such a large following. And I know that you had some accounts that got hacked, you couldn't get into, where you had hundreds and thousands of followers. But even now, some of your social medias, you have tens of thousands and you get a lot of traffic on your pages. And so I think that that makes a big difference, because it shows that people actually are paying attention to you. People actually care about your situation. And I think a lot of people are concerned and just worrying about, they're shocked to see some of these things, especially people who maybe haven't spoken to you in a while and aren't up to date with the situation. So what would you say to all of your followers out there, people that know your situation, are familiar with you, maybe haven't heard from you in a while? What can people do to help you and your children? And what do you want the community to know?
Well, I definitely think the most important thing to ever do is, when you see somebody who is innocent being treated so poorly, you do have an obligation and you should stand up and do something. And when you don't do that, then you're basically sinning or doing as much harm as the one that's done it. So I think the fact that so many people have witnessed this, they know that I am innocent. They know that I'm a loving, kind, very, very, very loving and kind woman, and that I love my children very much and was only ever trying to protect them with no malice, which is what the state of California admitted on the record, that they knew that I had no malice, which means, one, that there was never any crime committed. And so many people have witnessed this and still allowed it to continue. And that is what is shocking to me. So when they're witnessing this, the best thing they can do is stand up and say something. Say something to one of these two men. What are you doing? How dare you treat her this way? How dare you treat your children this way? Either of these men's friends, their family who have gone along with this, it is embarrassing. It is embarrassing behavior for them to go along with. How dare they? So if you are a friend or a family member of one of these men and you are sitting there and you are not stopping them and you are allowing them to do this, what do you think? What type of reflection is that on you? It's not a good one. So at this point, I'm really standing strong that anyone who is enabling this still or allowing this to continue should be facing natural consequences, whatever those might be, for sitting back and allowing this to happen. And then as far as helping, if somebody wants to help, they can donate to me on Cash App, ELLE Justice 1. And that is a great way for me to raise the funds to actually continue to get the word out and get this on the international stage and arena, so that the actual people with integrity and compassion and authority will intervene and start to do something.
Definitely. And it's really sad that this has happened, and I'm sorry that you're dealing with this. And I know that I had reached out to your younger two's father, and I had expressed to him that maybe he should just, simply just let you have, talk to the children, to see them, and to just consider, their feelings and everything like that. And I think he blocked me. I think he just blocked me after that. And so it just shows, like, it speaks to his character, where people are saying things that are like expressing concern for his children and their well-being. And rather than having compassion, it's like he just wants no part in it. So it really is sad. I mean, do these men have mothers, sisters, like women in their lives that they value, and they're still treating you this way? Like, I don't understand how they don't value the relationship between a child and their mother when they have mothers.
My first husband, he did not value his sister or his mother at all. He was very rude and disrespectful to him. So that just shows now that he has two daughters and the way that he is treating them and their relationship with their mother, despite what he would want to project out there and make people believe. No, he never cared for his mother or his sister. So it's not surprising that he is still behaving this way towards his own daughters or the mother of his children. But as far as my current husband, he does have a lot of love for his mother. So why he would ever deprive his sons that same love, it doesn't make sense.
And have you tried to speak to your mother-in-law or any of the other family members?
I did reach out to my mother-in-law and she said, "What are you calling me for?" and hung up on me. So I did. I tried to speak to her very lovingly, kind, have her intervene, have her help. And instead, she was more concerned about her criminal implications and helping to hide my sons and protecting herself than doing the right thing and making sure that my sons got to see their mother. If these people will just do the right thing, then they would not be facing any more consequences or implications. It's very simple for them to just switch courses, do the right thing, and make sure that my sons have their mother. Instead, they would rather barrel down, buckle down, hide, and be fearful because they already know that they have done something wrong.
But, and then, so he only tried to file something involving custody in the Georgia courts. He never actually tried to file for divorce.
Well, he couldn't file for divorce in Georgia because he hadn't been living there for 6 months, so he would have been committing even more fraud. So likely at this point, because he's now been there for 6 months, I'm sure he's tried to do all sorts of things, not because he actually wants a divorce or to end our relationship, but because he wants to get away with the actions that he has done and have some sort of order or something to stand on to make it make sense why he's acted this way. Because none of his behavior makes sense, none of it lines up.
And so do you plan on trying to fight back in the Georgia courts if he continues to try to file things there?
No, I have somebody that is an authorized representative who has a power of attorney, who has spoken to his attorney and made it clear that this matter needs to be handled in private mediation because it has already done so much harm. And that is the stance that I will continue to take, and that my representation is taking, that this needs to be handled privately in private mediation because everything they have done has been so cruel, harmful, and illegal that the only thing that matters right now is making sure my sons see their mother. That's it. That's it. I don't have any actual knowledge on how they are doing or what is happening to them, and that is wrong to deprive anybody of that for absolutely no reason.
And what about in California? Because I know when you were in jail still, they were transporting you to family court hearings, and you still had some things going on in the civil side. Do you still have ongoing proceedings, or are there any things going on there?
So I let them know in October that I was not going to be participating in this after they went and arrested me again, after spending so much time with the clerk of court to do things the way they wanted me to do, taking their parenting classes, doing everything they wanted. And their response was then to turn around and arrest me again for absolutely nothing, false imprison me, harass me, intimidate me. I let them know I would no longer be taking any part in this anymore. I'm going to remove it to a larger international stage, and I'm going to have intervention come from there, because this really is the Navy doing this. And so it is more of something that has to be handled with treaties, with prisoner of war type techniques and communication, so that we can actually have the children who are being held captive basically at this point released from their captors and have access to their lawful mother who needs to see them. So at this point, I'm not going to go through any California family court. I'm going to handle it internationally. I'm going to handle it with the right people that know what to do to make sure that the Navy stops with this and gives me back access to my daughters and my son who need to see their mother.
And do you feel like you're safe where you are and you are in a safe environment right now at the time?
So I know that I'm always safe wherever I go, but I do know, and I have witnessed them continually trying to harass, intimidate, or force me into some sort of contract with them, which I have made it clear to them. I am not contracting with them. I do not agree to the harassment or whatever they are doing right now. The hardest thing that for me to be able to find to do are income or revenue producing opportunities. So that's where donations really help so that I can have stable housing. But I have had some people hear my story who care so much, who have reached out to me like begging, basically, I want to offer you a long-term position with my company. I want to offer you a long-term partnership. So I have been really grateful to those people for reaching out, making sure I can have some money, making sure I can have some work, making sure I can even have clothes to wear, a car to drive, gas. So I've had some people who actually have good hearts and are good people who have done that. But for the most part, making sure I'm safe and in a stable environment has been so important to this too.
Yeah, I mean, and you look pretty good, like, you know, you look healthy and you look nice and everything. So it seems like you're doing okay, and that's important. And I know it's so hard when you try to like start over, especially when everybody takes all your stuff and you don't have any money and you don't know where to go, and it's a lot. But it seems like you have a lot of support, and I think you were doing some stuff where you're selling different products and like for the home and stuff. Are you still doing that?
Yeah, so I started a cleaning business in San Diego. I had 45 clients. I had keys to mansions, all of this. People trusted me so much. Even after they defamed me, put me in jail for a year, many of my clients took me back and wanted me to be back there. San Diego became a very unsafe location for me, unfortunately. So I had to move, tried to go to Georgia, was harassed there, intimidated, poisoned there. I had to leave Georgia, find a new safe and stable location to go. So I am able to partner where I am now and restart my cleaning business. Part of that too is selling cleaning products that are holistic, non-toxic, and I do have that that I can do on the side, as well as social media productions and just a few people that luckily in the safe place I am now, which I don't want to name, people here really have kind hearts and have tried so many ways to make sure I could have some sort of income. So that's been great.
And as far as housing, you have a safe place to live right now?
So I will finally have a safe place to live starting next week. I hope it all goes well, but I definitely am still raising funds to start some sort of have a long-term lease or something like that. My family has been horrific throughout this, only intimidating me more, coercing me more, threatening me more, not at all being willing to help, even though they are very financially abundant on their own. My extended family as well, I've been super disappointed in them. They watch every single story of mine. They know that my daughter was abused and harmed, and they have none of my extended family has reached out to help, to even offer a kind word. And I am so disappointed because they parade themselves as being honest people with integrity, but they don't care when their cousin or their niece is defamed, tortured, treated like a prisoner of war, and has her children ripped from her arms. It's very embarrassing for them, and I think that they should be embarrassed at the lack of support that they have offered when strangers have offered so much more.
And are they giving you some type of ultimatum or anything at all that they want you to do, or are they just saying that they don't want to talk to you?
My direct family has expressed that they have terms and conditions for their help. So unless I agree to their terms and conditions, which are unreasonable, dangerous, and would cause me more harm and my children more harm, then they will not help. So it's not a situation where they're actually offering genuine, pure help just to help and want to see me get better. It's an arrangement where they would benefit or profit somehow from helping me.
And you said that your ex, or I guess you guys are still married, he said that he tried to get some type of emergency orders or something in Georgia. And so to your knowledge, does he have some kind of order, or was he able to obtain something, and does it restrict you being able to access the children, or just
No,
simply giving
they never even gave a court date. They never even gave a court date. They don't have my agreement to move forward with anything, so they can't. I don't agree to the charade that they're putting on. I'm not going to consent to it. And I've made it clear I do actually have a very high standing in this world. And if I am not agreeing or consenting to any of this, I do have all of my treasury accounts, and many of these players know exactly who I am. And I have made it clear I am not agreeing to this horrific, cruel, and just torturous charade that they want to put on, enactment, fake court arena, whatever they want to do. They don't have my agreement. If they want to do things the right way and make sure that I see my sons, I'm extremely fair. I've always been fair. I'm not really asking for anything other than contact and my portion of anything that I invested into our businesses, which is very reasonable. As a 50-50 partner in any type of business deal, when a business goes under or you walk away from it, everybody splits it 50-50 and you move on with your life. You don't just take everything, steal it, and leave somebody out to dry.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting how he wants to try to coerce you into somehow admitting to having mental health problems or going to some rehab center or something like that to try to just make it seem like, oh yeah, you were just crazy. It was all in your head and it's all your fault. And it's sort of just a way to shift the blame onto you and force you to admit guilt or accountability to something when you really didn't, you were not out of your mind. You had mental health evaluations that said that you were competent and know what's going on. So for him to try to say that after the fact, it's like, what is, who and what is he trying to protect? Like,
I haven't seen one of these players, including the many attorneys and judges allegedly on these cases, ever be proven competent. I haven't seen one competency report on any of these people, yet I am the only one who has proven to be competent and has an official competency standing. So how any of them could even claim that they know something of more? No, not a single one of them can even claim to have a clear bill of mental health themselves. I am the only one that has professionals willing to support, back me up, and claim that I am competent and very mentally sound. So none of them have anything that they can say about that. And that, I think, has been most frustrating for them. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I do nothing. I don't. I do the best I can to make money. I'm a very kind, loving woman who believes in God and treats people fairly. So they really have no ground to stand on.
yeah. And even like, you've done a lot of content creation where you make like funny videos and mom content, and some of the stuff that when I was following you in the past, it's like nobody would ever think or accuse you of being incompetent or having mental health issues. You just seem like a normal mom, just like any other mom. So I don't understand. And like, if that's the case, then why wasn't he bringing that up before he tried to steal all your money and screw you over? Like, and it just,
Right.
it's
If
money.
anything, I'm concerned about his what the stress and pressure that he's under. I do not think it's right to ever. I am not a professional in the mental health arena. I do not think it's right for anyone who is not to ever make any claim towards somebody else's mental health. That is rude. It is wrong. And if you are not a professional, you cannot comment on it. So I have concerns about the stress, pressure, and intimidation he might be under and the effects that might have on him. But I cannot speak for anyone's mental health.
Yeah. And of course, like, what you're dealing with is severe trauma. Just simply being separated from your children, for one, is severely traumatic. Forced separation, not to mention being incarcerated without bail, which is unheard of. We got people in the state of Connecticut who are charged with murder for murdering a little girl and putting her in a Tupperware container and letting her body rot behind an abandoned building. And their bond was less than half of what yours was. So right. Even if they charged you with kidnapping, how is kidnapping a more severe charge than murder? Like, are you kidding
right.
me?
Right,
so
especially because there was an impossibility of a charge since my own children came from my body and were dropped at my house. You cannot right. kidnap something that is given to you, that is your own son and daughter, that actually by God has been given to you as well, the highest authority that there is. So that it was just a ridiculously rude, cruel charge. But even if it was in any way, shape, or form valid for somebody else, then not the large number of bail did not fit the charge, or no
Yeah, and
bail
then
did not fit the charge.
yeah, for them to take away your bail after, it's just like, and it's almost like they didn't expect you to know anything about your rights or fight back at all. They just kind of expected you to just give in and submit to whatever they wanted. And the more that you continue to say, I want to represent myself, or, I want a trial, or I want this, like, the more you asserted your rights, the more they retaliated. And all of us could see that, where I've never heard of somebody else besides you who was told that they're not allowed to be pro se. They forced you to have a public defender while you were in jail. And then they forced you to take a plea that you didn't agree to. So how is it an agreement if you're not agreeing? So that's well.
And they had to even change. So the code allegedly that they wanted the plea deal to say says that you have to commit it with malicious intent. And they removed that whole sentence and admitted on the record that I didn't have malicious intent. So they're just admitting publicly on their own fake record that I didn't commit a crime. So all they've done is admit that they just essentially kidnapped me, harassed and tortured me for 9 months for not committing a crime. And then continued to do it, have continued to do it now multiple times over and over again.
Yeah. And I think I remember you said something one time where you said, like, they try to break you, and once they realize that they can't break you, once they keep trying to break you and you can't, it's like you can't be broken. And I feel like that's kind of like where you are, where you've stayed so strong with like your faith and your like conviction to just keep going and keep fighting, that no matter what they do, you're still standing. So it's like, that's like strength. And you have 5 children, that I have 2, you have 5. So like, you've been a mom 5 times over, you have seen it all. And it's like, that's so much strength right there. And the fact that you're still here, you still, you put yourself together, you put a smile on your face, you're making funny videos, you're doing everything that you can to keep on moving forward. And, most people in your position wouldn't be still standing.
Right. Well, I know, and I can feel that my children can feel my presence. So if I'm happy, healthy, and doing well, doesn't matter if they keep my children from me for 10 years, they're going to feel that because of the heart connection that I have with them. So if I'm happy out here somewhere, it's going to influence my children more than me sitting there crying over this. If I am doing well and smiling and they watch my videos one day and they say, Mommy, I am so proud of you, that is better for them than to see me fall apart and be a mess. So everything that I'm doing is for my children, to make sure that they feel stable, because children feel stable when their mother is stable, no matter how far away she is from them, because of the way that DNA works, because of that soul heart connection. If I am stable, they feel stable and they will do better. So that is my focus.
Yeah. And I heard even just thinking about somebody can, if you just sit there and think about them, like they can sort of feel that internally. And it's just interesting how even miles apart, you can still have a connection because you have that strong bond and because you built that bond. And even with your youngest, you still, you breastfed him, you were with him every day. You were never putting your kids in daycare. So, that bond was still there, even though he might be so young that at the time that he might not remember everything, he's still in his mind and his heart feels you.
Yeah,
and
my
misses you.
3-year-old son seems to know me better than some 30-year-old people know their own mother. I come in the room, Mom, just to hear my voice. So to me, that's really like, how dare they? How dare they do that to this little boy who all he wants is to see his mother? How can any father, grandmother, aunt, uncle, because my husband has 2 brothers in the Navy. So let's see how much the Navy has involved in this. He has 2 brothers in the Navy that pride themselves on being honorable men. And they are sitting there watching this little boy to be deprived of his mother and allowing their brother to commit crimes and also deprive them of access of their basic fundamental need. I say, how dare they? How dare they even pretend to be officers in the Navy and act so dishonorable? How dare they? This is what I'm thinking when they're sitting there with their families allegedly for this Christmas, acting like they're some sort of military officer. How dare they? Because they are watching two little boys suffer without their mother. How dare they? They are encouraging crimes to be committed, watching it happen and not stopping it.
Yeah, and really what they're doing is torturing you and the children. And
Yes.
you know, I know it's like everything that sometimes it seems like things are useless to do because they're just going to ignore it, but maybe it might be a good idea to reach out to his superiors in the Navy, because I know another mom who she was on the podcast, and she had her ex was, I believe, also he was in the Navy, something in the military, but she said that he went and got some fraudulent ex parte. He claimed abuse when there wasn't, and it was granted ex parte. And the judge allowed him to then take his very young son to Germany while he was deployed overseas. So like he's
Wow.
active duty deployed in Germany. And this little son is like with a babysitter all day while the dad is busy. So it's like, it made no sense. And she was trying to do everything to keep fighting because the baby was young, and she went to Germany to try to fight and all that stuff. And she ended up speaking to his supervisor or whoever his superiors were, and told them, you know, what was going on, and opened up to them about it. And they convinced him to let her see the baby and have more time, like that. So,
well, I have spoken, and I'm going to call him out. I spoke to the commanding officer of the Naval Base San Diego and the commanding officer of the Naval Base San Diego. They know what is happening. They spoke to me. They were horrified about what is happening, and they are still enabling it, and enabled my continued harassment. And even in the laws of a prisoner of war, you cannot torture women and children. So these commanding officers, these are high-ranked officers, they know what's happening. They spoke directly to me. They know how horrible it is. They've had follow-ups in writing, and they are still failing to well and faithfully discharge their duties. And they should be fired at this point. Any of these people and these positions that are failing to well and faithfully discharge their duties and or protect children or women, they should not have these jobs anymore. And I know all of their names. I know who has done it. And I say again to them, how dare they? How dare they sit there and allow this behavior to continue?
yeah, and you know what? Every one of those people has somebody that sits above them. So if they won't do their job, make an internal complaint on them. And then if their superior won't, keep going up the chain of command until you get to the very top and somebody listens. Because a lot of times these lower level, even if they are somewhat high, they still are not the very top, and they might be more on a local level where they have more control, you know, especially being in the San Diego area and stuff like that. So I feel like,
as I mentioned, there is a two-star rear admiral who has come to every single one of my court dates, known me since I was a 15, 16-year-old girl, knows my loving, kind heart and how much I love my children, knows what was happening, whether he wants to allow it or not, believes me or not. He knows who I am, and he knows how much my children love me. And he has also enabled this behavior, which once again, I say, how dare he? How dare he, in his position of power, to instead force this treatment upon me than to stop it?
yeah, because I mean, they're either in on it, benefiting somehow from it, or something worse. And it's really sad. I feel like it's really sickening to think about the state of what's going on all over the US and all the states right now. And so many moms and children are separated, forcibly separated. And I feel like when we were children, this just wasn't a thing. Like, you weren't seeing all this forced separation. You would see kids saying, okay, yeah, my parents got divorced and I go to my dad's in the summer, or I go to my dad's on the weekend. It's like, it was more reasonable. I feel like now it's just such like a polarized, where it's like, you know, I mean, can you even see yourself ever actually being able to co-parent amicably with these men? Or don't you agree that even if there was some kind of schedule, that they're going to make it miserable and continue to torture you? Don't you think the best thing would be for you to just have full custody of your children and never look back? Because I feel like
think the best thing is to always treat children as unique individuals who come here with a purpose and reason, and who should be treated fairly from day one. So if the children would like to be with their safe parent, whether it's the mother or father, and it's the most stable and wonderful environment that they thrive in, and there is another parent who cannot tolerate that or be kind, let's just do what's best for each individual child. That's what we should be doing. And so I always will have hope that either one of these men can start to do the right thing, become better, get the help they need so that they can do the right thing by my children, by their children. And I would always hope that. I would never want to restrict or be somebody who sits there and says, I have full custody, because that's not fair or right either. I think it should be based on the child. If my daughter wants to see her mother and father equally, I am not one to deprive her of that unless he was physically harming her, which is what happened. So with my younger two sons, they should have equal access to me and their father as long as he is not harming them. Right now, he's harming them by depriving them of their equal right to their mother. But I always hope that everybody can do the right thing and that children can have access to whoever is safest and best for them.
Yeah. And also don't forget, like, emotional harm is just as bad, if not worse, than physical harm. And, the emotional harm and the psychological harm that he's doing to the boys by forcing them away from you. He could easily just pick up the phone and say, let's FaceTime mom. It's how hard is that? And
it would be so easy. It would be so easy. And I think that my case is just an example on a very dramatic and extraordinary scale what is happening, like you said, to so many other mothers and even fathers. A forced, cruel, and unusual punishment separation for absolutely no reason other than some financial incentive and or somebody's malice, jealousy, or cruelty in their heart.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think that by you continuing to speak up and sharing your story and continuing to grow your following and rebuild your following, I think it's only going to hurt him in the long run when all of these things are going to continue to come to light, all the fraud, all the lies, all the deceit, and then it's going to blow up in his face. And it's like, you're continuing to do the right thing. Like, you're not out here being revengeful. You're not out here being petty or spiteful. Like, you're seeming to even have like so much forgiveness and like compassion for these evil people when other people would not have the level of compassion that you have. So I feel like you're showing so much like emotional strength and maturity by being able to, forgive these people or trying to find the kindness or good in the people, even though they're being so cruel. And I think your case is just a perfect example of cruelty. Like, what you had, what is it? The Eighth Amendment. You're not allowed to have cruel and unusual punishments. Your case is the poster child of cruel and unusual punishments. And even after doing your time, which was unjustified, and you should have never sat in prison like that. But even after that, you're still being punished as if you're some criminal and did something wrong. But
I was harassed about 2 months ago in Mississippi for just sitting in a parked vehicle with a friend who was having a panic attack, just sitting. Police surrounded me, opened the door themselves, called me a prostitute, just harassing me, just absolutely out of nowhere, just completely targeted. I'm just sitting there, healthy, fine, sober woman, trying to help somebody with a panic attack, parked in a safe place, came up and harassed me like that. So I have been dealing with targeted harassment ever since this case began. Situations like that that have continued to happen and should not be happening just because I have been brave enough to speak, talk about this, and these police officers, whoever they actually are, want to antagonize me for doing that.
That's absolutely terrible. And I think in certain states, there's definitely more of like a hatred or misogynistic attitude, especially towards women, especially in a lot of these small town, maybe more southern states too, like, and Georgia, Mississippi, areas like that. So it's kind of scary, especially when you get armed men surrounding your vehicle and you're just
they were so incompetent, they didn't even know why they were there. They were walking around in circles. They were stumbling over their words, going backwards and forwards, just saying random things out their mouth. You're a prostitute. I'm like, I'm wearing sweaters and 5 jackets. What are you, a prostitute? You don't even know who I am. It was so embarrassing, shameful. I could not even understand why they were doing that. They screamed at me to sit on the hood of a police car. And then when I didn't do it, they arrested me. Such ridiculous behavior and embarrassing. I'm like, who are these people running around doing this to innocent women and men just trying to live their lives?
Wow. And so what happened with that? You didn't have to go to court and stuff?
They took me to jail for 2 days and tried to charge me with disorderly conduct because they told me to sit on a police car. And I said, no, I'm not going to sit on the hood of a police car. They weren't even making sense. They were not able to even speak legible sentences. And then they arrested me for that, took me to jail for 2 days. Just horrifically embarrassing, strange behavior that does not add up or make sense.
Wow. Well, I mean, I know that there is a lot of, stuff going on with people being targeted, and the stuff that you're describing really sounds like that. And even
I was
with
in the passenger seat of a vehicle, turned off, no noise being made, and they came up to the passenger side, opened the door, pulled me out, and started doing that. Nobody called the police, nothing. It was very targeted, strange, and bizarre situation.
yeah. And it's like, you go to one location and you think that you're safe there. And then next thing you know, you're being targeted again. And it's like they know where you're at. They can ping your phone, your social media, all your stuff. And there's like bizarre things. Like, I know you had your other TikTok that had like over like 150,000 followers. And then one day suddenly your username is changed to some bizarre username. And it's like, what is this? Like,
they started posting everything in Thai. It was somebody in Thailand. The things that they have done. Apple turned off my phone service for 20 days, refused to turn it back on. Just so many weird targeted things have happened directly to me. They said if I would not agree to something, they wouldn't give me cell phone service back on, and then they just randomly decided last week to turn it back on again. Even though I paid, even though I am doing everything the same as other people, they are still doing strange. They took away my Venmo. They won't let me have Venmo anymore. They closed all my bank accounts. Wells Fargo, I had them for 20 years. They decided to close all my bank accounts, and then I have to speak to the CFO now, and he'll sometimes approve them. None of this is making any sense. Their behaviors and actions have been so crazy towards me directly that it's very targeted.
Because they know that's your lifeline, your phone, your access to money, your access to people, support. Like they're going after the only way you're surviving is through that, the ways you're connecting with people. And so they want to attack that. But it just keeps backfiring because people continue to look for you. Like, you got, your accounts are getting more followers, you're getting more views, you're getting a lot of attention from my show, that people from Ireland, from Greece, from lots of different countries. I think 7 different countries were watching the show last year, and most of those were for you. So it's
I have a lot of people in Europe that are searching for me and would like me to be hopefully safely removed from the United States, as I should be. But unfortunately, my current husband and my father, it appears, stole my passport. They refused to give it back to me. So I have not been able to even freely leave the United States because they have stolen my passport, committed identity theft. But I do know that there are people in Europe that are trying so much to help me, to get me out of the United States and make sure I am somewhere safe, and then help me figure out how to protect the children better. So anyone in Europe that listens to this, please reach out to me so that you can help me get out, go somewhere safe. That would be wonderful if I could retrieve my passport from those that have stolen it so I can freely travel again like everybody else has the right to do. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, and even, I don't know if you've tried going into the nearest, sometimes they have like the you can get an emergency passport and you can get it expedited and you go in person. I don't know if you've tried any of that, but maybe that might help you get something quicker.
Well, it's just a bit too expensive for me right now because, like I said, all my credit cards were shut off. My bank accounts were all closed. Wells Fargo has been so strange. I truly did receive a call from the CFO of Wells Fargo trying to figure out why they had done this to me, not really telling me the truth. Then he changed his number and I have not been able to get back in touch with him. He sent me documents, but then my husband threw them all away before I could get them. All of this stuff has been so crazy. So that to have the money to even get a new passport, I don't have it right now unless somebody donated towards that. That would be great. That would be wonderful and very, very helpful.
And you said that right now you have, if people want to send you donations, they can send it on Cash App. And what is it? Elle Justice $ or?
So a $ in front, LELLE Justice 1. Or I have PayPal as well. Those seem to be the only two providers that are still allowing me to receive funds in any way, shape, or form. So my PayPal is EMARTINETTE@iCloud.com. And those are the only two places I can receive donations. But I would love donations to get a passport again. That's something I've been trying to figure out a way to do.
Okay, yeah, definitely. And the show does go globally, between Spotify and YouTube and Apple. All of those do go internationally. So, and we do have listeners in Europe. And will it also help you if people order from you? Like I know I see a lot of times you post with the company you're partnering with. And so if somebody wants to buy cleaning supplies or things for their home or any other like products that you buy anyways, and they buy it through you for the cheaper, cleaner, better options, does that help you as well financially if somebody does that?
Yes, that would help me. That support would be wonderful. And many people have reached out to do that, which has been super nice of them.
And like, do they also sell like candles and things like that? Or what are the kind of things that you offer?
They sell all types of home cleaning products, detergents. Their detergents is one of their best products. Also shampoo, conditioner, body wash, soaps, everything smells wonderful. I find it to be incredible. I very rarely use any products, but their products I do use. I think they're very safe on my hair. My hair was nearly destroyed after my jail experience like straw. And since I got out, I've used their shampoo. It's soft and very nice again, healthy. So I really do think that their products are very safe and effective and do a good job.
And so what is the best way for people to get in contact with you, whether they want to talk to you or purchase products or donate? Is Facebook the best way? Email? What's the best way to contact you?
So Facebook is the only one that they never were able to hack or shut down. So I'll give a shout out to Mark Zuckerberg for that. He made sure that my Facebook was always available to me. So the name on there right now is ELLE space Kelly, KELLY. Or you can reach out to me on Instagram, just Ellie Kelly. So it'd be JUSTELLEKELLY. And so either Instagram or Facebook is great and should be a way that somebody can get in touch with me. My phone is not reliable because, as I said, Apple has shut off my service just because they felt like it on and off. So Instagram or Facebook is best.
Okay. And are you on YouTube? Do you have a YouTube channel?
I do have a YouTube channel, but I really don't update it. I've thought about creating a couple series around this, but it's not the best way to contact me right now.
Okay. Yeah. Just thinking maybe, posting some more of your story on YouTube and maybe making some albums or some series to sort of break it down more easily for people. Cause I know sometimes on TikTok and stuff, it doesn't let you organize things very well, but you could make albums and playlists on YouTube. And I think it's more likely to stay versus some of the other platforms where they take videos down all the time and stuff. YouTube usually keeps stuff up.
Well, yes, I was thinking when I get into more stable housing that I could create an entire series around this event. And I also wanted to highlight some of the stories of the women that I met in jail, because I think their stories need to be shared. They need to have a voice as well as some of the very few. There are some specific sheriffs that I saw do the right thing, that had caring and loving hearts, that protected me when I was in jail, protected other women that were being abused. I would love to tell their stories as well. So I hope to be able to make a YouTube channel and share all these stories in 2026. And that's a huge goal.
Yeah, I think that would be great. And just continuing to broaden your reach and making yourself put out there as much as possible, because I know younger kids are on YouTube, they're, you know, and they'll put you on your children's algorithm just because that's how those algorithms work. And they'll say, oh, that's my mom, you know? And so I think
Yes.
it's
I'm
good.
sure they did. One of the things that they tried to do was to eliminate all my social media so that my children couldn't find me. I know that that was one of their malicious intents that they tried to do. It's horrible. It's torturous. They also tried to took my oldest daughter internationally to Paris for some sort of brainwashing, some sort of weird thing that they tried to do to try to make her forget about me as her mother. It didn't work. None of these behaviors are going to work. They're embarrassing. They're cruel. How dare any of these men, whoever they are, try to take a 12-year-old internationally to Paris to then subject her to some sort of conference like that? Absolutely not. I'm not okay with any of this or any of these things that have taken place. But my children should be able to find me on social media, enjoy seeing their mother again.
Yeah, definitely. And so now with the holidays coming up, are you planning to try to send the kids any Christmas gifts, or do you think they'll just get thrown in the garbage if you tried?
So the last that I heard my ex-husband speak, he said he was making sure that the children wrote Mother's Day cards to other women. I don't know why he would do that. That's very bizarre behavior. He did make it clear that he did not let them receive any of the notes that I had written. And then the card that my daughter had written to me for Mother's Day, he refused to make sure I got it. Now, his malice and horrible, distasteful behavior is on him. But I do not believe, or it does not appear that he would allow them to receive anything from me. My younger two sons, I don't actually know where they are. I could send gifts to where I think my husband is living's address, but I don't know what he will do with them. I have thought about this very much because, of course, I would love for my children to hear from me, but I don't know how to get in contact with them.
That's so sad. And it's like, then they're probably saying, oh, your mom doesn't care about you. She didn't get you anything or whatever. And then meanwhile, you would love to do it. So it's just, these men are just so evil. And I just think like there's a lot of evil in the world, so much. And
well, the best thing that did happen, even though they arrested me for it, harassed me again, is that in September, when I took my lawful order from the clerk to try to see my children again, they got to hear my voice. My daughter, she's 12. It's hard for me to talk about, but she was running out to try to get to me. And her neighbor, this awful, cruel woman, comes up, shoves her in the house so that she can't get out to see her mother. And then all of his neighborhood comes out, starts screaming in my face, calling me a criminal. I've never met these people before. Strangers screaming at a nice, loving mother who's just coming to see her children running to see their mother, and them shoving them. How dare these people act this way? It's embarrassing. And these are the ones that should be charged with crimes and actually doing some sort of time for the harm that they are causing. But I know, at least on that day, that my children heard my voice, and they know that I'm still doing everything I can to try to see them again.
I'm so sorry. And that is just horrible. It's horrific. And no child, no mother should have to deal with that. And, you know, I know that you have tried many times to go to the state authorities, to the federal authorities. I know that you've made many, many reports and been not taken seriously, but I would just say, don't give up hope, and don't give up hope on pushing criminal charges on these people for these crimes, because it might seem like everybody just slams the door in your face and it's a waste of time, but it could actually get you somewhere. And I know another mom who she dealt with her son being sexually abused. She has a really big following too. She had done like 4 months in jail on a really high bond. They arrested her whole entire family, everything. Same kind of situation. She tried to protect her son, was being sexually abused by the dad. The dad was an OBGYN, all this stuff. And I recently spoke to her, and she hasn't seen her son now in 2.5 years or talked to him. But she's continued to, you know, make reports to the FBI, and she got cleared of her criminal charges, and she's continuing to fight. And she said to me that the FBI recently, after many, many, many reports from her relentlessly pursuing it, she said that they went to his house and that they spoke to him and his girlfriend, that they seized his phone and all of his electronics. And I said, well, what's the next step? What are they going to do now? And she said, their next step is they're going to arrest him. So
Right.
it's been
Well,
years.
I know in my case that the FBI is heavily involved. They're extremely aware, and they do know that this has happened, not only to my daughter, but that this has continued to happen to me. I am certain and know that they know what's going on, and I'm somewhat ashamed of them as well, because they are also sitting by and allowing for it to happen. So I will not give up. I do know how targeted this is and how horrific all of this behavior has been. And I'm so glad to hear some moms getting justice, because this should stop and should be done now. And I hope that the tables, and I know they will turn in my case, and that will create a ripple effect for everybody else.
Yeah. And just don't give up. Even if you think something won't work, just try it. The worst thing you could do is get told no or ignored. Just keep trying every single thing. They deny it, take it up to the next step. Keep going until there's no more options. And, they say, oh, you got to exhaust all your remedies and then you could make this complaint and this complaint. Do it. Do all of it and keep speaking up and putting yourself out there, because I would have never seen your story if it wasn't for you being on social media. And, I feel like you're well-spoken, you're pretty, people pay attention to you, you have a voice, people listen. And so that's like a gift. And so, I think that you having the platform that you do, it's a blessing. So, use it to your advantage and continue to put yourself out there and speak your truth and show receipts and show the truth, because I believe you, and anybody who doesn't believe you is probably covering up something, because you've been.
I have never actually met, even the ones doing this, a single one of them who does not believe that I am telling the truth. They all know that I am telling the truth. They all know what they are doing. So I have not met a single person that does not think I'm telling the truth. If anything, they have said out loud in front of me in the courtrooms that they know I'm telling the truth, but they need to go through these hoops still, or found some excuse to continue to commit a crime. That's what they have done.
Yeah, and it seems like when there's, people in positions of power involved and sexual abuse and trafficking and things like that, they will double, triple down to try to cover it up. Look what's happening with the Epstein files. Why did we only get 0.1% of what they were ordered to send? Why is our own government covering up pedophilia and sexual abuse and human trafficking and expecting everybody to just be okay with that? I'm not okay with it. And I don't think that our future generation should accept what's going on. And the world right now is not safe for our children to live in. And we need to, everybody needs to wake up and protect the next generation, because they're all we have, really. That's going to be the ones who are going to be taking care of us in the future. They're going to be our leader.
I certainly do know it's a lot safer when there's women like me and you who talk about what's going on, because the one truth that always exists is that the darkness cannot hide when there is light. So if there is light shining from me and light shining from you, then they cannot hide. So it is obviously a lot safer when you and I are talking about what is going on.
Yeah, definitely. And so, keep sharing your story and keep speaking up. And is there anything that you want to say, last words, I guess, for anyone to hear?
Nothing necessarily, but I do hope to hear from anyone who has found value in this, or who recognizes me, knows who I am, hears the truth, cares about my daughters, cares about my sons, and wants to help. And I hope to, once this is resolved, I will be able to help many more see their sons and daughters again in the future. That is a huge goal of mine.
Well, I'm praying that you are reunited with your children as soon as possible, and that all this nightmare ends once and for all, and peace can be restored in your life. And all of us who are suffering, and this collective suffering of everybody who's feeling this pain, especially during the holidays and everything, but you're not alone. And so just keep taking care of yourself. that's the most important thing, you know, and making sure that you do self-care, and every day you're making yourself a priority, because your kids need you to be healthy and strong. And, you know, if you're not strong, they won't be strong. So you have to take care of yourself too.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for your time. I really, really, I honor you for it. And I thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you so much for coming on, and I hope to see you again soon.